This episode of the ChatGTM Podcast is brought to you by Budget Branders, your source for custom branded cups and bags. So what makes them unique? Well, they source using a hybrid supply model, they import to keep prices low, and they have domestic backup to fill in the gaps. Learn more at budgetbranders.com or connect with Budget Branders on LinkedIn. And now it's time for the show. Hey, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and welcome back to the ChatGTM Podcast. It's your host, Michael Beck with Think Tank GTM, here for what I would call a pickup game, meaning that we're on our way to the Prosper Forum conference this weekend. We're starting on Sunday, and I think goes through maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. And a lot of us are going to be heading over there. And before I head there, I started catching up with some friends that are in the industry and talking about to the people that are going to the show. And I thought it might be really interesting for you guys to meet somebody, if you haven't met him before, or get to learn what he's working on, Mr. David Cantu over at Craftable. Since he's going to be at that show with his people, I figured it might be an opportunity to share the message of what Craftable's working on. And when I talked to David just recently, blew my mind that they aren't just selling product. They actually started from the ground up. And I call it the blank sheet of paper moment that you guys might understand value. So as a quick read-in for David, for those that don't know him, today's guest is David Cantu. He's the CEO of Craftable, a company helping hospitality brands get control of the back office through labor scheduling, invoice management, reporting, forecasting, and food and labor visibility. But what makes this conversation really important is that David and the Craftable team didn't just update an old platform. They started with a blank sheet of paper, and they built it from the ground up, using years of operator feedback and hard-earned lessons to create a modern, scalable, friction-free solution built for where hospitality is going next. We're also here to talk a little bit about Prosper Forum and Prosper Accelerate, and Craftable's commitment to creating career paths, leadership opportunities, and real impact for the next generation of hospitality leaders. So with that being said, David, welcome to the ChatGTM Podcast. Are you ready?
I'm ready, Beck.
Fantastic. You know what? I used to sell against you for years. It's funny that I don't even know. I hate the word frenemy because I've never been an enemy with anybody. Like when I was selling at the trade shows, I remember Bill Bellissimo used to shoot me out of his booth when I'd be hanging out with the people at Crunch Time, and I'd step out of there giggling and laughing. But before he set up, I'd help them find Allen wrenches to put the booth together. And I just want to compete, and it's funny. Like, can you guys hurry up and get ready so we can compete now? So I'd go and help their booth get going.
Competition's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think nowhere else than in hospitality is that represented. Not too long ago, I heard a phrase, at this level, we don't compete, we collaborate. I think that's true. I mean, we're trying to, obviously outsell the next person and get that deal. But I think there's also a high level collaboration, which is also great. Why we're doing these things like Prosper. So, all right. So David, for anybody who doesn't know Craftable yet, give us the quick version. What does Craftable solve for hospitality operators?
The back office has been in existence for 30, 40 years, specific to the restaurant industry. I think you can probably date it all the way back to Remax. If I'm not mistaken. They're probably one of the first that were out there. And, what I think about back office, it's a tool set. It's a tool set that's centering around a sales forecast trend. It's suggestive ordering, prep production, labor, recipe management, inventory management, analytics, logbook, task management. It's this fine tool set. With that, we have also built a fine tool set. But behind that tool set, we really thought about AI at the forefront. All the plumbing, all the piping, all of the insights that would be derived from that. And we really thought about the day in the life of an operator. Not just on the day in the life, but how they onboard the first time with recipes or inventory or labor or, just really, truly understanding and insight. So with this, it's been a lot of fun. I've been around back office for 25 years now.
I know.
We built back office really with a, specific to labor with employees and managers. We didn't really think about corporate. It wasn't there. It was just, we were solving a pain out of a restaurant.
Right.
And it was competing against Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah. That was status quo, right?
Correct. And we focused on the people that were going to be using it day to day. It became really sticky. We learned a lot of the difference between building for quick serve and building for full serve. There were some mistakes made. We did a roll up. A roll-up was, a inventory management solution called Macromatics. And we cobbled these things together and we slipped an analytics tool on top, and we had learning management and everything else, and we scaled and grew the business. But we were never really truly like fully interconnected. And coming to Craftable about a year ago, I went from the board to CEO. We wanted to look at the back office of what Craftable had built over the past 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
We thought if we started from a blank sheet, what would we do differently?
Boy.
And we did exactly that. What took us 13 years to build, we rebuilt. And I would say that we're going to be finished with it in 13 months. But there's another component that sits near and dear to me. We decided that we were going to add scheduling and labor management to the platform. And that the sales forecast trend would drive everything downstream.
Yep.
On the planning of the staff to the understanding of what a suggestive order was going to be,
mm-hmm.
as well as prep and production. So we reduced and had minimal waste. The greatest opportunity today for the restaurant industry is being successful with healthy margins. It's one of the worst that it's ever been. 45% of restaurants were not.
Just going to bring that up. Absolutely. That was the Technomic data from NRA, right?
Correct. And it's pretty staggering because I do recall the day where we were 20% profitable. As a partner of a restaurant, we were lower single digits, working with the management and really truly focusing on the P&L and tying their variable to it. We took it to double digits in 4 months. So with that, it was a bit of I would say a light bulb moment for me on how do you emotionally connect the operators, the chefs, the managers to margins, to profits.
Right.
So we really,
go ahead. Sorry.
We looked to solve that. We looked to solve that on where there was margin erosion and revenue erosion. And as we dug deep, it was everywhere, Beck. I mean, it was everywhere. And I had to really put my operator hat on, like, why is it that, if you focus on it, it could be profitable. But it really made me think that the industry has evolved so much that we tried to get managers to focus on two things: food cost and labor cost.
Yep.
And
they're two controllables.
That was the two control, but there were so many other areas where they were losing money. And that's what we looked to solve with Craftable.
So David, let's go on the way back machine, say 7-8 years ago. Well, pre-pandemic, let's say 10 years ago, be easier. You go to a trade show, every single booth had the same exact thing at the top of the booth: 2 to 3 points back on your food and labor, 1 to 3 points back on your food and labor, 1 to 3 points back on your food and labor. Now, when we go to a show, it's just, they got rid of the points and say AI at the corner of every booth. Knowing that 45% of restaurants did not turn a profit, why should people be thinking about their back office in a different way now?
Well, I would say that with the ability to have everything interconnected, going from what is analog today, most disparate systems are analog. Nothing's automated. Nothing flows downstream. Managers have to stitch things together through spreadsheets.
Yep.
That's just the case today. If you look at all the back office solutions in the market, most of them are 10 to 30 years old.
Yeah, literally.
The architecture, the infrastructure, all of the plumbing, was an afterthought usually when they were building that.
And with some new wrappers around them over time, right?
That's exactly it, Beck. I would say that not everybody has a full end-to-end back office where they're using every aspect of it.
Right.
There's always the struggle of best in class or all encompassing. And, everybody can debate those different things, but a lot of companies went best in class. And the challenge and difficulty with that is that they each have their own roadmaps, their own variations, to where none of them are really talking to each other.
Right.
And I just felt that was a problem. And look, it is still the problem today. It was our goal to solve that by rebuilding the full stack and not just being one aspect of it as it is today.
David, when you said to me that you guys started with a blank sheet of paper or a version of that, I got so excited because I was like, well, every time you griped about a system you had, or what did that question, what would happen if you had a magic wand and you could wave it, you could experience that moment. And so thinking about building that from scratch, What are the lessons that you got from operators and finance teams and managers and the brands that layered into the lessons that you want to make sure were baked into this new platform that you were solving?
I think the most important thing, look, there's nothing, what I loved about the restaurant industry was being out on the floor. Like it's, conducting the dance. I mean, when you can do that.
There's orchestration for sure, right?
It really is. We at PF Chang's, we called it the tango. Because it was effortless. Everything was just, working in harmony. And, there's, I think about also back in the day, we had admins in the office.
Right.
The admin in the office would be, pulling together the invoicing and everything. And at some point, the admin went away.
Uh-huh.
The admin went away and all the administrative work and burden was placed on a GM. And a GM, honestly, today, in some aspects, is a title. They still run a shift, but they're expected to do so much.
Yep.
So many disparate systems. I feel like a lot of things have changed and we've continued to cut cost and labor at the detriment of the operator. And the biggest pain point that I believe operators have is burnout.
Juggle everything and be great at all of it.
Correct. Right. And look, some of the challenges that are created aren't created by them necessarily. They're created by somebody in the corporate office that made a decision to increase prices, not understanding that it impacts and erodes guest traffic.
Yeah.
And with that guest traffic, these operators are fighting to, make money. And it's hard to make money when, a decision is made that is impacting traffic. And not having the right tools, that are clunky.
Mm-hmm.
You're onboarded, you have to learn an inventory system, a recipe system, a labor system. If you're lucky to have a sales forecast trend to even understand what's going to happen, that's a rarity.
Right.
Which is another challenge in itself. So, I think for us, it's all my years and going back to those days of thinking it's still happening.
Yeah.
They're still doing the same thing, stitching things together. They're still using Excel spreadsheets or Google Sheets now for those that are a little bit more advanced or less advanced, maybe.
Forward, backward.
But I just think that's that's the problem that I see. And look, the back offices, they're great and they've solved a problem. But I do think the advancements of what is considered, more being AI native, where you're really thinking about the architecture and the infrastructure, and you're thinking about building your own models, not leveraging these generalist models that most of them are really patching into and creating a layer more than they are thinking about the core of what they're solving for is not necessarily centered around AI.
So David, you opened up a door previously talking about some of the pressures on the operators, and there's this old cliche, operators aren't analysts, right? Correct. And in the history you and I enjoyed together, a lot of that was about dashboards and reports and digging in and looking at the tea leaves and trying to figure out what it's telling me, right? Mm-hmm. And so I imagine what becomes possible when you build a modern architecture. And from day one, I imagine that, and correct me if I'm wrong, are we talking prescriptive analytics, not just here's your dashboard and figure out what your numbers are, what your targets are?
Exactly it. Yeah. It's prescriptive.
That's beautiful. And then when it comes to, and I imagine also, and I live in the land of make-believe, so let's see if it happens, that back in our history, when we'd set up a back office system, it was a long and protracted experience because you had to pull in that item master and map every item. And we're talking 6 months, 7 months, a year and a half to get all that stuff down. Is that something you guys have solved over there? That timeline, that lift?
We have, and look, we have 9 different agents sitting in the background that learn and are consistently new items being added. The items come from an invoice. So everything's captured, that's coming into the restaurant. It's an item that's read. And if that item is not known and it doesn't have an attachment to a recipe, it flags it, allows you to easily map to it. We're learning for this right now. This is one of the things we're perfecting on, really automating that mapping. Because if you will look at mapping, it's going to take your history of all your items and it's going to give you laundry list of it goes to one of these things of your historical purchases and what you have. It's dirty data.
Mm-hmm.
What we know is what's the most common, and we tee up what with, a suggested that this is the item that needs to be mapped based on your most recent and the most volume of purchases, to where we're simplifying that aspect of how it ties together. So, that mapping is probably one of the biggest pain points.
It sucks.
It does. This is the I would say the final miles of that rebuild
Yeah.
operation side. And, I would say the team is excited about really improving that, because I do think that that's one of the challenges that most people face with that. It seems like mapping items is like not reading all the emails in your email box, because it's just always there and existing. And especially for a chef driven concept, where they have kind of a little bit of leeway to order anything and everything, that's where they have a challenge of keeping up.
David, when you think about the brands out there and where they're losing money, or that seepage, where do you think that the most money could be recaptured based on what we're talking about right now?
It's in the ordering, Beck. I mean, it comes down to the ordering. Look, we have instituted PARs. It's one of the worst things you could ever.
The worst. We always need 5 on the shelf.
Correct. I mean, we there was a simple way, but because nothing was real time accessible with data.
Mm-hmm.
It is today. So I mean, people that place PARs tends to overorder. There was research done. Oh gosh, I just remember his name was David out of Wharton. And that it was 9% of everything that you order gets wasted because you overorder, because of the problem with PARs, or you have stockouts because you don't really understand the PAR doesn't apply when you have a holiday on the weekend. It could be a faux holiday. It could be Margarita Day, or, a taco day.
Right.
In the past. So that waste, I mean, it's led to 33 billion pounds of waste a year from the restaurant industry. That, I mean, if you kind of break down the math, that can feed 7 million people. So if you're looking at if 4 to 10% of every $1,000 that you're ordering is going to be thrown away or wasted, because everything has a different shelf life on days on hand, from produce to dairy to proteins.
Holding guacamole for day parts and things like that, right?
The mathematical equation is staggering. And for an operator that's focused on, staffing employees, retaining employees, retaining guests, that's a lot to handle, and nobody's really truly solved for it. There's been some companies that have done good work on just, creating the dynamic PARs and driving the suggestive ordering. But I do believe that proper sales forecasting, suggestive ordering, and then prep and production is another aspect, Beck, because if you have too much product, the chef or the kitchen manager is going to say, okay, let's turn it into a prepped item. Right. Which takes, utilities as well as labor.
Yeah.
And what is attributed from that 33 billion pounds of waste is the belief that about 5% of that comes from prepped items.
Yeah. And if you don't have the dynamicism to do some kind of chef dish like a soup or something for utilization, then you will waste that product.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
David, so if you had 60 seconds with a restaurant CEO, and they say, we got our back office locked down, we've been doing this thing for years, what would you say to them to say this probably needs another look or more strategic attention?
I think it's simple when you talk through it, Beck. Look, most people believe I got a back office so I can manage labor and I can manage food costs. And that's the way of thinking about it. But they're not really thinking about, okay, what is the information that they're utilizing to have a proper order, to have a proper prep, to have the right planning. That's the aspect where it breaks down. Now, if they do have a solution and these solutions do it, maybe in theory they do, but the ability to trust, do I trust the forecast? Do I trust the suggestive ordering? That's where it breaks down. And if they really go in and review, whether or not that's occurring, I think they're going to realize what they bought is technology that is really helping in some aspects, but is not automated and is not allowing them to be smart about their purchases and about planning. And that's where they're losing a tremendous amount of money. So this 2 to 3% notion, it's probably really more like 5 to 7%, as I found, in the restaurant of just evaluating it and discussing it. There's a lot of places to lose money. Utilities are one. Utilities have increased 35% over the past 6 years.
Yeah, energy costs are going up.
Electricity, it does. And it's just one of those areas of like, they don't measure it. They don't know, but we measure it. Every invoice that comes in, we're capturing and I'm not talking about just price, but it's consumption. So with us, we're recognizing everything, and we serve up an insight about your water bill went up because, the trend shows that you use 600 gallons more than the average month. And you're just like, why is there $600?
Yeah, do we have a leak? Is something going on?
Like electricity, it could be the gas. So those are aspects that, if it's served up almost like, all these agents running in the background saying, hey, here's what we're reading. Can you investigate? That's serving it up. That's the way that we look at it, that back offices are not doing today. It's a database. It's an analytics tool. It's a report that shows up in your email, or it's on a dashboard. And I mean, as an operator, you walk into the office, you read the logbook notes or digital logbook notes, you look at a couple of things, and you go off and you tackle the shift. Nothing tells you, look at the water, look at the gas, look at the lights, look at the chemical supplies or the paper goods, or, why is it that vodka has such a strong actual versus theoretical in your well? Did we break something? Are we overpouring? Is there theft? I mean, there's always the questions to ask. So those are the types of insights we provide to say, here's what's happening. And we really look at the highest revenue items, meaning the most consumption.
High value.
Take those top 20 and drastically reduce that actual versus theoretical. Forget about the other 150.
Yeah.
Because where you tackle is where you're really, spending the money, because that's where the greatest loss is.
The thing that keeps popping into my head is that number 45, right? I wonder how much, collectively or on average, everybody missed their number by that would put them on that list of 45% of them didn't make their number. And I'm wondering, you mentioned forecasting. It feels like such a powerful part of that. You think those guys are that group is not forecasting accurately, potentially?
Look, some companies may have solved it, but they're another tool or solution. It's not fully embedded or integrated. So the way we looked at the sales forecasting, we really wanted that I honestly believe it's the most important piece, Beck. And with this, the 5% error rate, we feel already is best in class based on what's been published out there and what's accessible to us. Tested up against 2,000 locations currently that we have, and we're launching that out next week. It's never trusted. Now, the way that it's trusted is when you show accuracy and you show your math, and an operator can dig in and learn and understand why is the forecast stating what it's stating. We did this a lot with hot schedules. It took your trailing 4 weeks was the most accurate for labor planning.
Right.
Year over year for a holiday, but it's just statistical. It's fun.
Right.
Not even really a model. We are using 4 models. It's probabilistic machine learning, and it's tapping specific restaurant every 15 minutes. And the models are competing against each other to where it really starts to fine tune and learn about that specific location. It has the moving holidays, the faux holidays, it's also geographically located. It's not zip code.
Yep.
So understanding that geography on whether or not there's a conference or a coliseum in the area or sporting event. Those are the things that it's looking at. The weather conditions, pinging the weather channels.
Are those things that are being consumed by a feed or something that the operator has to key in?
No, that's all by a feed. It's all through the agents. They're just tapping into those of understanding what
because you just have to track that. What was that impact, right? And that was so dependent on the operator to be a data entry person to do that too.
This is all working in the background. This is all the automation. This is all the insights. This is the insight that tells you the weather is imminent and you will be closing your patio and you should call off your staff and you should expect, a 15% increase in your online ordering to go. So that's the aspect of this, I call it like a nervous system in the background. And the way I look at those agents are like a sensory to where it's sensing things and it's telling you something's happening. The brain is the operator. They're the ones that have the knowledge to say, no, that's a false positive. That's an insight that it doesn't know what I know.
Conjures to mind a different kind of IoT device. Like this whole thing is IoT in this sense, right?
Yes.
Where it's sensing that. David, and I think you started defining this, right? But as you think about the future of Craftable, is the vision to be a back office tool, or is it something different, like maybe something closer to an operating platform for restaurant profitability? Like, how are you looking at this?
It's, I go with the name that people understand, back office. They know what a back office is.
Sure.
But this is truly an intelligent back office. An intelligent back office can tell you things. It has information. It should be able to serve up. The goal for us is not to replace people or say that we're smarter than the operator.
Right.
The goal is just to make their life simpler to where we are constantly feeding them information that's digestible, that they can action or not. And we've got the ability for them to say, no, that doesn't work. And they'll drop a note into us. We read everything through our engineering team. It doesn't change the model because they could give us suggestions, but we are searching everything.
Right.
As they're leveraging it. And, they could also say, I actioned and did this. It goes away. And based on that action, we're continuing to test and we serve it up and said, hey, what you did the last time actually moved the needle, do more of that, to where it is just constantly thinking, evolving. It just becomes your assistant. We call it operator AI. It's another operator. It's virtual.
Yeah.
It has a team of agents behind it. And it's being able, that's the push component of it.
Yeah.
There's the pull component of it. That's, we call it Crafty. Crafty is the AI assistant.
Yeah.
Crafty, reads every invoice, your recipes, your sales, any of your labor costs. It will soon read your guest experience and it could tie a server, their attachment rates, a full score on understanding if they are truly the best server. We're going to pull in Resi and OpenTable to where we can tie the guest experience.
Yeah.
And we're taking that into performance scheduling to where we truly know who really is your better server.
Right. You're tying that to transactions as well, wine sales bonuses, contests, things like that as well.
Glass of wine over bottles of wine to where it's very objective based data that you could sit down and say, hey, if you are below the average benchmark, we can really define to say, this is where the revenue leakage is. It's these 5 employees. Here's where their attachment rates are suffering or their table turn times are, too fast and maybe they're not pushing a dessert. So we have every digital footprint of what they're ringing up to where it's just scanning and reading it and reviewing it and it's scoring it and it's providing a performance, review that we're building right into the schedule to where it helps automate that because you want your best people in place. And your best people aren't always just the ones that pick up the house shift or, are working there all the time. It's the ones that you don't know about that are really, truly providing an experience, leveraging the full menu versus the same order all the time.
Right. Sometimes you don't know who your rock stars are because they're just busy working and not self-promoting.
Correct.
Right. With that rock star in mind too, when we think about operators, the thing we used to talk about when I was selling back office was that you're not going to have a rock star at every single store.
No.
Right. But what a system like Craftable does is allows you to have a baseline of performance that would be a rock star at every store and empowering those people to make better decisions. Right. It's a rounding mechanism that rounds out that talent across your business. I love the fact that they still have agency to be able to make decisions, but then you can measure the decision that was made and was that a positive or negative impact and say, we can do more of that. I think that's fantastic.
We're tying this down because on schedules, you can have a schedule, but I can schedule a shift. We've even thought it through to where take a high performer and, not just the shift, but place them in the same next to the section of the person that needs support, that needs to know how to, really present wine, get that rate, or to where they can start to learn from each other. It's a little nuanced, but it's one of those things of like, look, if I was an operator and I had somebody coming through, I would like, hey, I want you to be right in the station next to Beck because Beck has the highest wine sales. Beck knows how to really position. It's just that cross-pollination. Can you have somebody work better when they're working next to a rock star?
I think that's the thing that just this real quick side journey. I think that's the thing we miss out on when we have a remote workforce, right? It's that learning by osmosis, hearing the conversation in the next cubicle over, or somebody at the water cooling talk about a project that they're working on, and it's the next thing or the cool thing that the engineers are doing that you just don't know about. I think there's still some intrinsic value to being in that sphere of conversation and energy, right? Let's talk a little bit about Prosper as we wrap up here. We are going over there on starting this weekend, and I know that Craftable is a commitment to that event. Tell me a little bit about why that community matters to you, both personally and professionally.
Not all restaurateurs are these dynamic personalities that get out there, and some people just they want to be able to obviously grow their careers. And I think great leaders recognize great talent isn't always the most dynamic person in the room. And I just think it allows leaders to really, truly bring in the future of what they see in others. And to do that at a level to where, they don't get to they actually do get to interact with executives. I think that aspect is pretty powerful because this industry, it will always be people led. I don't think the bots are going to take over. What I'd like to believe is technology, should be there to serve the operators, allow them to focus on the things that they love to do. There still is knowledge to be had. Yeah. And this knowledge is shared amongst people.
So is your participation, excuse me for not knowing this part, but we're just start talking about this stuff. Prosper Accelerate is the function that Prosper offers, is another event that they have to really celebrate and develop leaders that are coming out of different businesses. And the funny misconception is it has to be the young people. It's not. It's people that are doing things and going somewhere that they want to see get somewhere, right? And they make these great cohorts where they can collaborate with each other and almost like a fraternity or sorority, move out of that with a network of their own to leverage as they go. Yeah, are you guys sponsoring an accelerator?
We are. We are sponsoring the one later this year that we'll be a part of. I'm very excited to be a part of this. I joined Prosper for the first one when I was the CEO of Black Box Intelligence, and I was really powerful. Unfortunately, we had a hurricane, so it kind of condensed everything.
You were with that one. You got a huddle in the hotel during the hurricane.
Well, I had to get out early to make sure I didn't have to huddle in the hurricane.
Right.
Beautifully and well done. And, it is the who's who that goes to this. And, each of the topics that they have are meaningful. Like, it is great content. They've done an incredible job with that. And, I would say walking out of one of those things, very much like with Black Box, we had these, beautiful best practices conference. You walk out feeling like I learned something and I'm like more motivated to go back to work. Because it really makes you think, how to become a better leader. That's the whole theme is just centered around that, becoming a better leader. And what better way than to bring the next, generation or the next, wave of leaders up than through that community. It's rare that you see that. I haven't seen a conference that's done it quite like them, but it's pretty powerful. I'm excited to go back. It's been a while.
We've all had the experience at trade shows. You're like, hey, my eyes are up here because they're squinting to see who you are and your badge. And one of my most memorable stories from Prosper is I'm sitting on a bench talking to this woman. An hour went by, and I'm like, oh, by the way, who are you? What do you do? Well, I'm the CEO of A&W. I was like, wow, I would have known that, but it had such a different effect on the conversation because I wasn't worried about her role or status. It was, what do we have to share? Right. It was really just a neat experience. Can you share who your accelerator is that you guys are sending?
I don't, because we haven't announced it here internally, and I know that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Keep it under wraps.
For the accelerator. Yeah.
Yes.
I'll give away the secret.
All right. Well, we're going to get you again later. So we'll definitely make sure we talk about that. Hopefully celebrate that person. Well, let's go do a little quick rapid fire here for this to wrap up, as we always do. So these should be pretty easy. One or two sentence answers off the cuff. If it's odd or weird, you can always say pass. Are you ready?
Sure.
It's like the exit row. I have to look at you and get verbal permission. Anyway, so all right. So what's one back office process that restaurants still make too hard?
Look, counting inventory.
Yes. Yeah, it sucks.
Who wants to stay, at 1:00 in the morning or show up at 6 a.m.?
Right. Or hang out in the walk-in for 30 minutes. Right.
Oh, it's the worst. Yeah. I just did it around a year and a half ago, and I was like, I can't believe I did this for all the years. It was painful.
Yeah. What's one metric every operator should understand better?
Sales forecast accuracy.
That's a strong one across the board. Nobody cares how big you forecast. They want to know how accurate you forecast, right? What's more dangerous, bad data or delayed data?
Oh, definitely bad data.
What's one thing every emerging hospitality leader should learn early?
The P&L.
Nice call.
Beck, it's crazy. Like, still today, they're starving for the P&L.
Yeah.
I just don't, maybe it just comes natural of understanding, I look forward to really teaching that through the technology of the P&L. Because if we can get them emotionally connected to profits, that's the problem. They're not emotionally connected. Why? Because they may not feel like they're part of really sharing in it, because it's a bit of a black box, or a metric they feel like they can't achieve. So, that's one thing I look to help solve.
Well, in some strong organizations, they bonus you based on P&L performance, right? And then you really care about the P&L because you move past that certain number.
It's true. It's kind of hard to measure up until you get to the end of the month, and you're like, oh, okay.
Right.
So how does that number, when you're saying move it from 28.7 to 29.4?
True.
In the beginning and ending inventory, was a price change occurred? Am I hindered on my food cost because all of my pricing went up? Because I can't control that.
Yeah, that's true.
Can I control a natural versus theoretical? Yeah.
What does a great software partner understand that an average vendor misses? You didn't think I was going to be this provocative.
That's a good, there's a lot of things here, Beck, and look, I think one of the things of truly the ability to listen and understand, because at some point you will have some pain of a rollout, an integration or something with that customer, of really getting to the heart. I call it wild curiosity. Like when an issue occurs, I'm just one of like, can we do a root cause? Can we just regroup? Can we understand what happened, to where I know, because things get lost in translation. Between, especially when from an executive to the person day to day using the system. If you don't get at the heart of that, and if you're not wildly curious enough to dig all the way down, if something bubbles up to an executive, you never solve the problem, and it just festers. So
seek to understand.
It absolutely. I just think that that's the one thing. Vendors are just like, okay, problem, fixed it. All right, move on. Problem occurred again. So partners dig in, they learn, they take ownership, always. Yeah. That's a true partnership.
Yeah, that's the thing I talk to people about a lot. It's not the smiley face that shows up when the deal's getting signed. It's the person that you have to talk to when the things get rocky during implementation. And they do, right? But how do you recover together?
Hey, look, we're going through this, and we did this through, in what we call invoice AI, the OCR. Like we made some mistakes. We went through some pain with our customers. We had a lot of conversations, and it brought us closer to our customers. It really did. But there's lessons learned, and for us, it's just okay. Here's what we do next time, and how we better QA. And but their pain is my pain. Like if we're giving them pain, that's where I lose sleep at night.
Yeah. Art Julian used to say all the time, their perception is your reality.
It's so true.
You hear that, Art? Last question to wrap this up with. Finish the sentence. The future of hospitality belongs to leaders who?
Our people leaders.
I'll take that. Well, David, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I'm looking forward to seeing you in person at the Prosper Show here when do you get in, Sunday?
I get in on Sunday, yes.
All right, I'll see you on Sunday, unless you see me first and duck down a hall. I wouldn't blame you. But jokes aside, I'm really looking forward to getting together with you and meeting the other parts of your team. And for everybody that's been listening on, if this stimulated a question of thought, it's craftable.com. Is that right, David, your website?
Craftable.
Go to craftable.com. Look David up on LinkedIn. He's active there all the time. If you happen to be at the Prosper Show, go seek him and his team out there. I'm sure he'd love to have a conversation with you. But for now, it's Michael Beck, David Cantu signing off here, and we'll see you guys on the next one. And as always, random acts of kindness. Sprinkle that stuff everywhere. Just like David spent some time with me today, really made my day. And you could do that for somebody else. So take care.